Welcome to the channel. My name is Matthias. Today we're going to talk about Uncanny X-Men issues 184 to 185, written by Chris Claremont. So this is actually a very important story arc in X-Men lore. Here we have Storm lose her powers thanks to one of Forge's inventions, his depowering gun, which in this story we're going to have the government very interested in this weapon. That here, at least I discovered, because I had no idea or I didn't remember, that Forge actually had created this gun to deal with the Dire Wraiths, the big bads of the ROM series. So that's why we're going to have a story arc a little bit further down the line where the Wraiths are going to try to hunt down Forge, and this is going to lead to the X-Men intervening. Then as a B plot, we have Rachel Summers, who has time traveled to the past. She's going to try to correct the timeline so she can stop the days of the future past. The thing is that the moment she steps foot in New York City, she immediately calls the attention of the Black Queen, Selene. And this is actually going to be super cool because I love the Black Queen as a villain. She's very menacing. And she immediately goes out on the hunt. She wants to consume Rachel Summers' energy. She is drawn to her like a moth to a flame. And in their first encounter, Rachel's able to escape. But the thing is, like, the whole hunt, it's very well done. And I have to say, I really love how John Romita Jr. draws Selene. Like, his work in general during this era, I think, is some of his best. But here you have that fantastic balance between beautiful and totally evil in the representation of this character. So I just realized that this is not the B plot at all. This is the main story and everything revolving around Forge. That's the B plot. So now we have Rachel Summers backed in the corner, and she tries to let loose on Selene, but the Black Queen is insanely OP, and at the last minute, the X-Men jump in to save her. And the battle that we get between our heroes and the Black Queen, it's very well done. Selene is able to pick off one X-Men at a time, but Xavier has to step in and use the full force of his powers, and that's the only thing that puts Black Queen on the run. And this really shows off the threat level of the Black Queen, because you don't see Xavier do this too often. So the X-Men are able to save Rachel. She's astounded to see the whole team alive, because obviously in her timeline, everyone's dead. Then we jump to the next issue where we have Gyrich, the guy that I love to hate. He's addressing this board, and the thing is, he's establishing that Rogue is public enemy number one. That they're going to go on this trial mission, and they're going to use Forge's gun to depower Rogue. That her powers are too much of a menace to society. And also we discovered that the person that determined this was actually Valerie Cooper after Mystique protests this whole situation. Obviously the government doesn't know. They have been infiltrated by Mystique. As I mentioned earlier, she's posing as an agent and as a right-hand lady to Val Cooper. So the story jumps to Rogue, who has taken some time off from the X-Men. She's really having a hard time with her powers because obviously due to their nature, they have been very detrimental to her life. And that she had joined the X-Men to be able to learn how to control her powers in the first place, but this has not happened. Storm has arrived, and she's trying to be a good friend to her, to console her. And the whole dialogue that we get here is really interesting because Storm has a hard time understanding, not liking, or appreciating the powers that one could have. So she tells Rogue, look, I really love having powers and my connection to Mother Nature. And there's this fantastic moment where Storm tells Rogue, take my powers, see how it feels. And when Rogue does this, she's blown away. Like, how it is to be Storm, her experience. this beautiful connection that she has with Mother Nature and the elements. But the thing is that Gyrick has arrived with government forces. So what happens is Rogue has no idea how to control Storm's powers in the first place. And she freaks out. And what we discover is that Storm's powers seem to be very emotionally driven. And this says a lot about Storm. So we have Rogue, who is totally freaked out. She's afraid. And Storm's powers start creating chaos all over the place. The thing is that she is not aware that Gyrick is taking aim. He shoots at Rogue, but Storm jumps in to try to save her. Storm gets shot and she loses her powers. And this is going to be like a defining era for Storm. Storm is going to stay depowered for a real long time. And this is going to show off how much of a badass Storm is, that she doesn't really need her powers in the first place. But emotionally, this is going to take Aurora into some very dark places. And she's going to grow a lot as a character. And this is going to lead to her relationship with Forge. And they're going to have a big falling out when she discovers that he's the one that created the gun in the first place. Oh, I forgot to mention two things. First, Xavier and the X-Men were able to find Rachel and the Black Queen because of Cerebro had picked up the activity of two new mutants. And the other thing that I really love about these issues is Gyrick. I love to hate the guy, but he's always just a gigantic pain in the ass for our heroes. He's always an antagonist, but here it's the very few times where you see him act out straight up as a villain. You don't see that happen too often. And since Marvel does this sparingly, it adds a lot to this character. So you just love to hate him.